Somebody told me, I don't know how accurate this is, but in the music industry, the failure rate's about 95%.
In the industry, not just as an artist, but
Yeah.
as an in the industry.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to actually break through is you could definitely get a winning lottery ticket much easier.
Welcome to another episode of the Road Dogs Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Lyle. Today we're here with Daniel Miller, famous manager here in
My
town.
gosh, no, not famous, but excited to be here though. And the hot dog, are you kidding me?
I know, right? Well, look, we're sponsored by Daddy's Dogs for this series of episodes. They've been great partners to us. What did you go with?
I'm pretty basic. So I'm just a basic hot dog with ketchup, and that describes my life to a T.
So you're saying at home, if you're making your own hot dog, you're not, you're simple.
This is as complicated as it gets.
Okay, so, I respect that.
How about you?
I'm doing the New York style, a little sauerkraut, a little mustard. But in full disclosure, this is my third today.
Oh gosh. But you're not from New York, so how does the New York style hot dog hit you?
It hits me well. Like I'm going to try this bite, but I like the sauerkraut. I think it's a nice thing. But here's the thing that I like about Daddy's Dog. So we were talking about this earlier. I grew up here in town. But we grew up with not a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so we had the pink hot dogs.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you know the pink hot dogs.
Of course. It was the delicacy in my house.
You're right. And so we were a big boil family. We boiled our hot dogs.
Yep, we did too.
Daddy's Dogs is a grill.
Yeah.
And so I'm really enjoying the grilled dog thing. So that's kind of what I enjoy.
We couldn't afford hot dog buns. So we
Okay.
just had white bread. You got one slice of white bread on your boiled hot dog. And
Yep.
We may or may not have had ketchup. So that's about it.
Well, I like that you and I have similar, very simple roots here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, cheers. I'm going to grab
Yeah.
a bite here.
Indeed. Is there a special way to do this? Wow.
Hold on and good luck. Yeah.
These guys are famous.
So, I don't know if you know this. Have you had a chance to meet Sean Big Daddy?
I've not. I remember during the pandemic, he was doing some cool things, the drive-in theater and stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there to meet him.
So he's my next guest. He's coming up right after you, so you'll probably get to meet him, Dave. But he is a former tour manager.
That's incredible.
He tour managed Cage the Elephant and a couple other bands. But I'm excited to hear the story of how you get from one to the other.
No kidding. That'd be way more interesting than this.
No, we're good. We're good. I've known you. So I was sitting here thinking, when we decided about our first guest for this series, I wanted people from different walks of life in our industry. Mm-hmm. I got a production manager, had Zito earlier, who's been with
Yeah.
Green Day and a bunch of big acts. And, of course, Marco was last, and he's now with Post Malone. And, I wanted somebody like you that can speak from the artist manager side about your journey.
Yeah.
And state of the industry, but also your path and how you got here. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But I want to first start about talking about when we met. We were both much younger men back then. Mm-hmm. In my head, it was 2004.
That sounds right.
And I'm not going to say the artist because of non-disclosure agreements. But I know you remember this, but one of my most memorable things that's ever happened in my career happened on that tour, in that the artist you were working with decided one night that they were done touring.
Yeah.
And we walked in, the crew had loaded in, and we were like, oh, we don't have a support act tonight.
Yeah, that was a wild time. That was the first artist that I was a day-to-day manager on. And she had every possible thing going for her. Still to this day, and I hate to say this because we still manage Martine McBride, but probably the most powerful voice I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So much so, and I don't know if this is exactly true, but I remember the production team telling me that on a wireless microphone, she was cutting out because she sang so hard.
Oh.
So we had to keep her on a wired microphone.
Wow.
Throughout that. Incredibly talented, got about 3/4 through that tour, and like you said, just said, I can't do this. I'm going to pack my stuff up and I'm going home. And she never returned. And,
Literally never returned. Right?
Never returned. And that was the end of that. So that's really heartbreaking when you put that much work into something, get them on an incredible tour like that was, and then to see them just like, you know what, I can't do it. But I will say, though, especially for a young person, this is tough,
Yes.
what they have to go through, and certainly 21 years ago, however long that was, 22 years ago, it was even harder then, I think, for a new artist, especially for a young female.
Absolutely.
And if you're not just mentally there and ready for the expectation, we've seen a lot of them come and go.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I again, you hit the nail on the head. She was so talented. But one of the things that tour taught me coming up my career, I've hit my this year marks my 35th year in the industry. I'm very, very blessed to have gotten to take some amazing journeys. But one of my biggest lessons from that era of my career and that tour was take care of the support acts.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's going to be the next name on the marquee.
It's so true. And I learned that on that tour as well. And then we'll probably get into it. But when I worked with Lady A later on, the first tour, ironically, was Martina. And I remember Martina and John and their crew being so generous with audio and lighting and stage space. And I didn't realize how rare that was at the time.
Yeah.
And Little Big Town tells this story, and a lot of people who've opened Martina over the years say that, and now they've adopted that in their tours as well. Take really good care of the opening acts, not only because, like you said, they're going to end up somewhere else later on, but it also just gives the audience a better experience, And I hate these tours when they minimize the opening acts so much, and the audio's bad, and the lighting is bad, and the audience, they're going to get up and leave and go get a drink or go to the bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that to them?
Exactly. No, you're hitting the nail on the head, and it's funny, being with Keith. I was with Keith. I started with Keith in 2003 and stayed with him through the beginning of 2007, and was a great transition point in his career. Like we went from when I started, we were all on one bus, Keith in there too, to when I left, we were like 6, and one of our first opening acts the next year after the 04 tour was Miranda Lambert. And I just remember, being the LD at that time, I was like, man, this young lady, she's got something. I'm going to program a light show for her. Because normally on a tour like that, with support acts, you might get one of the lighting techs, they'll just throw up like, here's a look. They're not going to put heart into it.
Just a static
just leave
color.
it. Yeah, and maybe if the artist tips them out, they'll do a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to take good care of her.
Yeah.
And man, it paid off. The next year, Miranda's doing a small tour, and hey, Chris, you want to come design this for us?
I remember you doing that.
And I went on a 10-year ride with her doing designs, and it's some of my best memories because to grow with an artist like that organically, but she knew that I cared too about it.
And that probably guided your career path from there, right?
100%, because what was happening in my career, especially during that Keith phase, is my son was born. And I hit a point where I love travel, I love being on the road, but it was getting harder and harder to leave.
I'm sure.
And as you know, when the road gets in your blood, and especially in the people that tour full-time, the crew, it's hard to find a gig at home that'll allow you to be home more.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that I got to a point where I was able to do more and more design work and less actual touring work. And so that's where we wound up. And I came off the road. Finally, I came off the road in 12. My last tour I toured with was Robert Plant, and figured that was a good mic drop.
That's a pretty good way to wrap it up. Wow.
Well, I want to talk more about your journey because, again, I know we both met much younger in life, and I do remember when you were a day-to-day there at Borman, man, and I saw he just retired too, man. What a great career that man's had. But
50 years.
Remind me, what year did you come to town?
I moved here in 1997.
Okay.
Like a lot of people, I knew that I wanted to work in the music industry, but I didn't know enough about it to know what that meant. And the weird thing is, we didn't have internet yet, which is hard for young people on our team to understand that long ago. So I didn't have a way to research the music industry or figure out what jobs were. I literally went through CDs of artists that I had, read all the liner notes because I was sort of a liner note nerd. And some of them were dumb enough to put the artist management company's phone numbers in there. So I called Marty Gamblin's office.
Okay.
Marty managed Brian White, and I forget who else at the time. And I have no idea who answered the phone. I wish I did. Okay. And whoever this guy was, he said, well, where do you live? And at the time, I was going to Mizzou in Missouri. I was studying to be a banking and finance guy.
Okay.
'Cause where I come from, the only people that make a decent living work at a bank.
Okay.
And I just said, hey, I'm interested in this business. I don't know much about it at all. What would you do if you were me? And the funny thing is, if I got that call today, I don't know that I would answer it. But thank God he did. And he said, look, you need to pack your things and move here because you have to be present to win. And he recommended MTSU, where I ended up going and finishing, and you know really well.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So I moved here in the fall of '97. My family had no idea what I was up to, but they're like, you always figure things out, so you'll figure this out. And I remember my mom dropped me off on Music Row at the Shoney's Inn and gave me the last $100 she had.
Oh my goodness.
And said, I know you'll figure this out, but I'm just worried about what you're doing. But so about a month into that program, a friend of mine at school had worked on a guitar shop on Demumbrian, and that was the year that Sting came out and sang with Toby Keith.
Oh.
And somebody from Sting's crew had come in the guitar shop that day and said to her, like, do you want my all access pass to the CMA Awards? And she's like, sure. You know, of course you can't do that today.
Right.
But, so she ended up not getting off work in time. It's like, hey, somebody came in the shop today and gave me their pass. Do you want it? So I took her pass. You know, this breaks every rule, but I just started wandering backstage, and I ended up meeting a publicist and had a great conversation and just asked what he did and what a publicist was, and I had no idea. So he was dumb enough to give me his business card, and I harassed him for about 6 months, just looking for an internship or to come sweep the floors or take out the trash or whatever.
Yeah.
And one day he called and said, hey, the PR firm that we're affiliated with just closed. This was Evelyn Shriver's PR firm. Had just closed to run Asylum Records. Me and the other publicists here that stayed, we have no help. Can you come in tomorrow? And I think the day or two after I interviewed, Tammy Wynette had just died, who was a client.
Oh.
And the phones were ringing off the hook. And not everybody knew that they had left. So I jumped in, came in as their intern. You know, they didn't pay me or anything, but I didn't care. So I worked for that PR firm for a couple of years. I was still in school. She had me doing tour press on Waylon and Trace Adkins and Daryl Singletary and Andy Griggs and several others. And that's where I really learned, like, I love this touring thing. So kind of like you, I grew up, our family didn't have any money. I didn't go to any concerts. Like the county fair might have somebody, but I didn't go to what we'd call a hard ticket date until I was in college. And my brother was and still is a huge Sawyer Brown fan.
Oh, yeah.
So my whole family went to see Sawyer Brown, and the band Black Hawk was opening, and the first of three was this kid, Toby Keith. And it was the first time I'd ever seen production. I'd never been in an arena before, and I was so fascinated by it. So fast forward then a couple of years, I'm working in tour PR and helping market these shows and set up interviews for them. That's when it all clicked together, like the live side is what I want to be involved with here somehow. A friend of mine at MTSU was roommates with an artist, and she said, hey, I'm finishing my internship. I'm going to go to work for them. They're getting ready to go on their first tour. Do you want to be our intern? And I said, sure. Who's the band? She's like, well, it's this new group called the Dixie Chicks. Like they're just getting started, but I feel like we're going to need some help.
Yeah.
And they did. So I got to jump in over there. I worked for Simon Renshaw and his team, really going into the Chicks' first headline tour, and they were on top of the world.
Yeah.
And I was just handling ticketing was all I was doing. But as you can imagine, everybody in the world wanted a ticket to that show.
Oh, yeah.
So my phone was ringing all day. Emails were flying in all day, just helping take care of that. But then I got to meet all the box office staff and all the promoters. And that was before we did national tours. So every market had a different promoter. So I met a tremendous number of people. They had a tour sponsorship. I didn't know what that was. Our friend Todd Cassidy was the sponsor rep. So I just got to see not only how shows were scaled ticket-wise, but how important it was to release tickets and work with the marketer to make sure there were no open holes in the arenas so that when the band came out, the audience looked really full.
Right.
Incredible opportunity. And that company there was rumors they were going to shut down and sell to a company in LA and move to LA, and that eventually was what happened. And somebody at Borman Entertainment called me and said, hey, I know you've been doing that. We kind of need a similar thing over here. Tim and Faith are in the middle of their first tour together. So I was able to jump from the Chicks tour to Tim and Faith in the same year, kind of doing the same job. And a 26-year-old kid watching the best in the business operate at the highest level.
I got to pause you here. The thing that keeps striking me in all this is it just feels like this was like these divine intervention doors just opening up.
Yeah.
Like this path is like, you were called to do this, man.
I believe so, whether it's God or the universe or whatever.
Yeah, whatever you call it,
And ever since then, I've always told younger people, like, look, whether you believe in God or the universe or energy, all those things speak to you and open opportunities. And all you can do is be ready to accept them when they present themselves and not fight against it.
Yeah.
And that was sort of my thing. And I didn't have a big vision, like my just getting an unpaid internship was kind of as far as I had thought. And so then to get a full-time job making a whole $22,000 a year without benefits was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Seems insane now.
Right.
But you're right. They did open themselves up, but also I felt like in each opportunity I took advantage of meeting as many people as I could.
Yeah.
And just presenting myself in a way of not just being some dumb college kid, but somebody that really understood the music. And as well as I could, I researched who they were and their background and the clients they worked with, so that when I went into these meetings with them, I at least knew what I was talking about versus somebody off the street that just didn't know anything.
And I know we're going to talk more about the building of your company, but is that a culture that you still you instill in your employees now?
100%.
Yeah.
When we bring interns now, the first thing that I do is give them the Music Row In Charge issue, because it has every executive's photo, their company, their title, the clients they work with, or their background, what they do. And obviously I don't expect them to memorize 200
Right.
people. I said, but I don't want you coming with me to an industry event and I'm meeting an agent or a record executive,
Sure.
and you ask them who they are. You should know who they are. That way when I introduce you, you can say something about them.
Yeah.
So we still do that.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're progressing through your career. You've kind of worked around the Tim and Faith camp.
Yeah.
And then what comes next? What's happening
So,
next?
I started at Borman really as an assistant to one of the managers there. Same thing. I was handling tickets and details for sponsorships. Faith had huge sponsorship deals, and just learning how that all interacted with the tour. When that tour winded down, we had just taken on the band Lone Star, so I got to do the same thing for them, and then really learn on a deeper level tour marketing. And they were doing probably large theaters at the time. Blake Shelton was the opening act,
Oh, wow.
which was really bizarre.
Man.
And really going all in on understanding how shows are built and marketed and all those things.
Sure.
A year or so later, Keith Urban came along. He'd made a change in his career. And again, I was still just an assistant, so I wasn't even a day-to-day yet, but was learning from not only two of the best managers in the business, but really, really strong day-to-day people. I joke now that, almost 30 years ago, you had to be like a guy in your mid-50s with a lot of money and a lot of power to be called a manager.
Right.
And what I would consider at the time, people who are managers today were only day-to-days back then. And today, people just ordain themselves a manager with no experience.
Yep.
And I still believe it's an apprenticeship type business. All of our roles are apprenticeships, and you've got to earn your way into it to know what the hell you're doing.
Absolutely, you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's how you learn and grow and become who you are. And
Yeah.
So I definitely remember you at Borman, but man, you went on and worked with a huge band.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
took them to some great places.
Well, but I got to watch behind the scenes. Again, I wasn't artist facing that much, so I was able to watch the management team and the extended team, the agents and the promoters and the record label and the publicists, and I got to have a step back and watch what all of them did, but they were operating at the highest level. So we got an invitation to a showcase from an agent at CEA, said, we have this new band called Lady Antebellum, we would love for you to come see them at 3rd and Lindsley. So we all went. I think there was 15 people in the room, probably.
Wow.
And, I was never in that position to even, we're scouting a new band. I don't know what I'm looking for.
Right.
But I'd been to enough shows by then, I could tell, They had really strong stage presence and really strong chemistry among each other. I didn't know any of the music. Nobody did because it hadn't come out yet. But there was this buzz about them in town. So we went, and afterwards I walked up and introduced myself and said, look, I work for Gary Borman. I know we're trying to meet with you. I love what you all are doing, and I really would love to become part of the team if that works out. So we met with them a couple of times, and I remember us saying, this is a great meeting. After you meet with everybody else, then come back and tell us what you think. And I've told that story several times. People are like, what a stupid thing to tell a client that you want. But I remember taking the cue from Gary. He's like, well, let them go meet everybody. That way, if they come here, which we hope they do, they have no regrets of like, man, I wish I'd have met other people just for comparison.
Yeah.
And also, we felt confident enough in our ability of what we could deliver. If they find something better, shame on us. But we presented everything that we could do and what our plan was, and it worked out.
Yeah.
So this was in the spring of 2006. 2006.
Yes.
2006, we started working with them, I think in March.
Okay.
They signed their record deal in June. They started recording their album in July. They had their first single out at radio in September, and we're on tour with Martina in January.
And that first single goes big, doesn't it?
It went number 3.
Okay.
Which for a brand new band was huge. But for all that to happen in a 9-month period
Fast.
was unheard of.
Yeah.
You know? And their first album came out in March. I don't know why I remember this. They sold 41,000 albums, I think. Number 2 behind George Strait, which was okay.
I'll take that.
And we were in New York on album promo, and, you know, the band, there was a lot of stress. Things that happened really fast, and they tell this story. Like, we were walking down the streets of New York City, and they're, like, yelling at each other. And so much just stress and anticipation had built up, and, you know, they had never had business partners before. They had come from different families. All of this was new, and it all just sort of came to a head. And I'll give Gary and Marianne McCready credit for it. They brought in a counselor to come in and just sort of guide them through, like, this is what the next 10 years of your life will look like if things go well.
Yeah.
And this is how you can be better partnering. You had 2 guys and a girl, again, different backgrounds and families. They just didn't know how to work together.
Yeah.
And that changed everything.
Wow.
And from that moment forward, the rest of their career, they leaned on that, not only just how to work together, but with other people, and even in what became their marriages later on. But for the next 7 years, it continued at that pace. You know, thankfully they made the right music, and they were and still are such incredibly kind and humble people, and that opened up so many doors and relationships for them.
I couldn't agree more. Like, I've interacted with them several times. I even, I don't know if you recall, but I even helped design one of their tours.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just genuinely good people.
Yeah,
and I know
the best.
Hillary comes from with Linda Davis as her
Yep.
mom. I mean, obviously a legacy there. And but just the harmonics on stage and just their stage presence. I mean, I always thought the world of them.
Yeah.
Still do. I
Yeah.
mean, I just think they put out a great product.
Yeah, they really did. And the challenge at the time, because things did happen so fast, they had parents and boyfriends and girlfriends and friends and colleagues. Everybody gave their opinion.
Oh, boy.
And when you have that many opinions, it can get really confusing quickly. But thankfully, they learned to trust us and follow our guidance, and we had to have a lot of conversations about it. But that's when I first learned, like, man, the artists it's great when they come in contact with a lot of people.
Yeah.
However, all those people eventually have opinions because they want to be close to it,
Yes.
and they want to be part of it. And just making sure, and Clarence Spalding has always told me this too, I think he calls it bus talk or bus education or something, where an artist can get on the bus and somebody that has no idea what they're talking about all of a sudden starts teaching them the music industry.
Daniel. Yep.
And that's where I learned, like, you've got to be really transparent.
Yeah.
And you've always got to be truthful. And you've got to make sure that you're giving them all the information they need so that when other ideas come out from other directions, they know how to respond to it.
Yeah.
And what's helpful and what's not.
I got to take this time, too, to point out and acknowledge one of the unique things you have with a trio like that is, any other artist, a Keith, a Martina, you've got one personality to manage.
Yeah.
You have one
Yeah.
goal and plans and spouse and kids and all the things. Now you've got three young people
Yeah.
who are also not only discovering the music industry, they're discovering life.
Absolutely.
In relationships, and that had to be
Hard.
hard.
It was really hard. But I will say, if they hadn't done that counseling session to learn how to communicate with each other better, I don't know they would have made it.
Wow.
Because they were in a rough place in that first album cycle. But
I love that you were on the forefront too, because now mental health is much less destigmatized when we're talking about it. We're engaging in it. We have
Yeah.
services. In the years you're talking, this would have been
oh my
unheard
gosh,
of.
totally unheard of. I didn't know it even existed, especially for an artist.
Yeah.
And, the business management team had somebody in-house, and he had been on the road with the Judds and dealt with all that and several other clients, so he was really well versed in this and handled it brilliantly.
Man, I love that, because you and I both know, and not even just in the country music genre, but all genres, these duos or trios, and you hear about they won't even ride the same bus together. The only time they talk to each other is on stage when they make playful banter in front of the crowd, but beyond that, they can't stand each
Yeah.
other. That collision of personalities gets to a point where you can't even engage. It's heartbreaking.
Well, and it's one thing when you're excited to be in a band and you're 20, 22 years old, everything's fun, you don't have money, you don't care.
Yeah.
Then success happens, and we all get to grow up having normal lives. They're having to grow up in the spotlight at a really fast pace. For most people, never having had money before.
Sure.
I know one business manager said, when your career takes off, it's no different than winning the lottery. Life changes fast, and either you know what to do with it or you don't. So you got to figure it out.
Wow. And how many total years did you spend with Lady A?
So 7 at first, and then, I was about to turn 40 years old. The band was sort of in a transitionary period, and I said, if I'm ever going to have my own management company, I need to do it right now.
Yeah.
So, but I said, what I'm not going to do is approach any of the clients, especially them, at the company I worked for, about what I was doing.
Sure.
Or ask them to come with me. That felt unethical.
I agree.
So I said, this is stupid, but I'm going to step out with no clients, no money, no staff, and start this. So that's what I did. And I spent my entire life savings pretty quickly, and was somehow out of that able to pay a couple people to help me get it started. And, we took on a few developing clients that didn't work out, but it let us help get our feet wet. Unsuspectingly, Lady A left that company for a change and went to Red Light. Korn Capshaw had been not chasing, but sort of chasing me for a little bit. And I just said, I really want to start my own thing. He's like, I get that. So then when the band made a change, he said, look, I know you just started your thing. The band's made a change. They're coming over here. You have all the history. Is there a way that you could re-engage with that while you're still building your company?
Yeah.
And I said, that's probably the best thing that I could do.
Yeah.
Because I'd burned through a bunch of money already at that
Sure.
point and didn't have clients of our own that were going to be earning money very quickly. It's amazing the stupid shit that I did at that point. And I rented an office space and everything that I couldn't afford.
The nice coffee machine. And
all that. So I worked with them for another 4 years. And then during that time, met with and took on Martina McBride, which, to have a legendary artist on the roster was a bucket list
Without a doubt, one of
opportunity.
the best voices in country music.
By far.
Or
And one
music.
of the best humans.
Yes.
So that was in 2013 when that started. Like I said, Lady A, we stayed with them for the next 4 years, and then they moved on. We took on Martina, and then a few years after that, this kid, Riley Green, came along, and that kind of gets us to today.
Oh my gosh, Daniel. And what, I know we're going to spend some time talking about this, but I mean, talking about stepping at the plate, taking a swing, and knocking it right out of the park. My gosh, where you've taken that guy. Truly impressive, man. He's just killing it out there.
But in all these scenarios, though, it wouldn't have mattered how prepared we were or how hard we worked if the artists weren't on board as well.
Yeah.
I always say it doesn't matter how good we are or how bad we are. The artist has to have the talent, have the commitment, have the mindset to do all those things, or what we offer means nothing.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes we see the inverse where they want it and they're hungry getting into the industry, then they get it, and then it just kind of fizzles. And
Yep.
kind of goes back to what we talked about at first when
Absolutely
we first met.
it
I
does.
mean,
Yep.
people, priorities change, life goals change,
Yeah.
and you get that. But I mean,
Somebody told me, I don't know how accurate this is, but in the music industry, the failure rate's about 95%.
in the industry, not just as an artist, but
Yeah.
as an in the industry.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to actually break through is you could definitely get a winning lottery ticket much easier.
Wow.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes right there.
Yeah.
Let's take a break from the work talk for a second. I want to know more about Daniel the person.
Oh, gosh.
Are you a workaholic? I mean, is this
I
your
am.
whole life?
I am.
It is.
But, both of my parents were addicts
Oh.
in a younger life,
Okay.
In different ways. Thankfully, I was able to channel that in a much different way.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's super healthy to be a workaholic, but I'll take that over other things that I grew up around
Yeah.
and witnessed. So I'm able to channel that there. It's also why I have 3 therapists,
Yeah.
literally, to help get through it. But
Therapy is an amazing thing.
I grew up in a little small farm community in rural Missouri. We didn't have cable television. We didn't have satellite. We had 3 television channels from an antenna on the roof. And that was my only exposure to the outside world.
Wow.
So we had a radio,
Yeah.
and we could, on a clear day, get stations out of St. Louis, but really the country stations nearby was all we had access to.
Yeah.
Both sets of my grandparents were country fans. We didn't have our own house. We lived with my grandfather, my mom's side. He had, this sounds cliche, but it's true. He had Johnny Cash records and Glenn Campbell records, and Rhinestone Cowboy was sort of, for some reason, our family's like theme song.
Okay.
I don't know what that meant. But, and my other grandparents, they always had the radio on, all because you were listening for the weather,
Yeah.
and for the hog prices and the grain prices, and
The things you needed to do.
all
to
the
get-
things you
yeah.
needed to know. And that was our exposure to the outside world.
Yeah.
Not having any idea that the music from that and the reason that my family and the people we grew up around resonated with would become what I eventually did in my life. But my godmother told me that, for some reason when I was a kid, I said I want to be a mailman or something. And she said, well, all of us are meant to deliver a message in our life.
Yeah.
And you want to be a mailman, even though you didn't really want to do that, was kind of metaphoric for you because you knew you had to help deliver a message somehow.
Yes.
To people. And that's what I see this job as. Like, I don't give these people talent. I don't write their songs. I don't record them. I can't get on stage. That'd be a disaster if I did. But what we can do is recognize that talent, recognize who they are as people, and have the foresight to see that what they're going to say is going to reach millions of people and change their lives.
Isn't that incredible?
And that's the reason I do this.
Man, you hit the nail on the head. So earlier, my first guest, Zito, again, production manager, we were talking about similarly lighting, and lighting, and lighting at a show.
Yep.
You can overthink it or underthink it, but at the end of the day, we're creating a performance of an environment around somebody.
Yeah.
But what Zito and I were talking about is I have talks with a lot of young up-and-coming LDs in this industry, and I'll pull them aside before their first arena tour, and I'll have this talk with them. And I'll talk about 2 things. I'll say, when you go to do your audience focus, even though we're focusing on the artist on the stage, we're going to do an audience focus. We're going to do something that goes out here in the audience. I want you to walk out there, and I want you to light the 300 level.
Wow.
I want every person in this room to feel that look.
Like they're seen and included.
Like they're seen and included. And the second part of that, I want you to remember that tonight's somebody's first show. Here's the hard part. This could be somebody's last show.
Absolutely.
And these people, this is their date night. This is somebody saved up months to go to this show.
Yep.
And we never take that for granted.
That's right.
We
Yep.
never take that for granted. So even doing something as simple as us with lighting, I've always tried to make it about a bigger thing. In that, we have a customer, and that customer is the people in that venue.
And like you said, you have no idea what that person had to sacrifice to get in that room.
Exactly.
And I always say, like, country music specifically is played in so many weddings and so many funerals and everything in between. You never really know where it ends up, but thankfully we get to hear so many of those stories
Isn't that
afterwards
incredible?
of what it really does for people.
To go off that, look, we could work. I've done work in other genres. I've done work in pop and rock and rap, and it's great. And I love those people, and they're great. But the country music community, there's nothing like it.
There's nothing like
I
it.
know you and I sit on the board of the ACMs together, and it's funny. People will walk in to be a guest speaker at like our board meetings, and they'll be like, "Man, the community y'all have is
Yeah.
incredible."
Yeah.
It's because the people sitting, like the managers, the publicists, the record label, people genuinely, truly care
For
about
sure.
our industry.
Yeah. I love going to New York or Los Angeles or London or wherever, doing promotional things and hearing the executives or the producers or whatever saying like, gosh, it's so refreshing to have artist camps from Nashville come here because you all are so great to work with. You care about what you're doing and you treat our people with respect as if you knew them for 10 years.
Exactly.
And that's great to hear back.
Speaks testaments about who we are as
Totally
people.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that about us. And
Yeah.
man, may we continue to have that reputation.
Yeah,
as
no
we-
kidding. Yeah. I wish it pertained to everybody in our
Yeah.
industry, but thankfully the majority do.
Yeah. I know you're not quite my age. I don't think you are. I won't ask your
52.
age. I'm 53. Okay. Has getting old, one of the things I've struggled with getting older, and I don't think you're probably going through this because you have such a rock star on your hands, but feeling relevant still. Have you had this struggle at all?
Every day.
Really?
Somebody at lunch asked me the same thing yesterday.
Really?
And she said, it's somebody that came from a different part of the industry and tried to be a manager for 5 or 6 years and then got out of it. She said, do you feel like you still have to prove yourself? And I said, every single day.
Yes.
And she's like, wow, but you work with a lot of great people. And I said, yeah, and that makes it even harder. You know, there's always a young kid or a new idea or something right around the corner that could replace you. And I feel like that's why the reason that I called my company Fusion Music is I wanted a team of people that all have different backgrounds and experiences and beliefs. But when we all come together with a common vision, we're able to take care of the artists and the teams we work with.
Yeah. I love that.
And I just feel like that's necessary so that when we interact with other people, we have more compassion for whatever they're going through and who they are to be able to work with them.
Yeah.
And so, point being back to the relevancy, I don't have to tell you how fast the technology and the business and everything changes literally by the minute.
Yeah.
And you can't possibly know all of it, but I feel like if you surround yourself with a team of people that are all watching and hearing and listening to different things and bring that information together, that you're more well prepared for it.
I completely agree, and that's advice somebody gave me a few years back: is surround yourself with people that know what's coming. Because
Yeah.
I got in the industry in '91, and I consider myself very middle ground in terms of transition of the industry, because I got in when lighting wise we used par cans. I know you know what a par can
Yep,
is,
yeah.
and so I got to see how the old school did it and the old guard, and what a show looked like when you only had what we called 120 par cans.
That's right.
60 in the
Yep.
front, 60
Yep.
in the back,
Yep.
some spotlights. And then we became digital, all moving lights, and then now LED, and now, I mean, we can do all kinds of
Lasers
great-
and
I mean,
everything, yeah.
It's insane. So but I was right there in the middle. And so I had a hard time grasping some of the new technology, and it took me surrounding myself with some of these young people and picking their brains a little bit and going, hey, how are we doing like
Yeah.
this and why? And vice versa, trying to get them back to the art form of what we're doing too. It's not all about technology, but let's look at the art form of what we're doing
For
too.
sure. I get aggravated, and for years I've said this to the leaders of the music business colleges, because I went all the way through school and I never even owned a camera. Then in my job, I'm supposed to talk to a really experienced photographer about how to photograph my artists, make sure the lighting's right. I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
Or I had never heard of a par can before until I saw it in a rider for somebody.
Yeah.
I didn't take a class on how lighting should work or
Yeah.
how audio works at a show. So I got pushed into a job really quickly, I feel like undereducated about what all that meant. And, we didn't take advertising classes, marketing classes, a lot of the things, psychology classes. I think a lot of the things that young people really need more exposure to before coming into this job.
Agreed. And I believe you went through leadership music
I
as
did.
well. So I did too. I was class of 16. One of the best things I ever did in my career. It's almost like I wish we could have our young generation go
100%.
through a version of that.
Absolutely.
I went through it. I guess I would have been probably 42 or so. Man, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved every bit of that.
Yeah.
Like,
The only experience that I had learning audio, I took whatever the audio class was at MTSU, and if it hadn't been for the written exam, I would have failed miserably. But the one project is we had to produce a radio commercial using music. I didn't know anybody in the class yet, so I get paired with this kid who had just moved here from Japan, did not know English very well at all, and I had to produce a commercial with him as the voiceover pretending to be Garth Brooks. I still have this DAT tape somewhere. If I can find a DAT player, I want to hear it.
Oh my gosh.
But we both got 100 on that project because the professor's like, just take it. It's
This is your give me.
We struggled. Yeah. Poor kid. I don't know whatever happened to him. But.
Oh man, we got a few more minutes. I got to just hear about Riley Green and what it's like just to
Yeah.
I mean, and let's be clear here. I take my wife to a lot of award shows, and when Riley walks in the room, Chris Lyle doesn't exist anymore. Man, what a rock star you got right now.
You know, I first heard of him during his first radio single. We didn't work with him. And I was really close to his record label from Lady A and Keith Urban days. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know if this guy has a manager. If he doesn't, I'd love to meet him. If he does, I hope for the best.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's something special here. And they said, look, he does have a manager. If that ever changes, we'll call you. And maybe 2 months later, that happened.
Okay.
And they called, and we met with him. And Zach Sutton, who worked with me at Borman, had gone on and become a manager on his own out of our team. I called him and said, look, this guy's music's incredible. I don't understand all this outdoor stuff that he does, but I know you do. Let's meet him together. So we did. We went over to the booking agency and sat with him a little bit, had a great conversation, and I said, well, let's just see where this goes. And then we flew down to see him in Augusta, Georgia, and I don't remember the name of the venue, but this entire room of people were singing all the words of songs that I'd never heard of. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but these aren't radio singles, but somehow this crowd knows the words to every single song.
Yeah.
So we met with him one more time and presented a whole plan and all that. And he called one day and said, I feel like you are the right team. And
what a great call. I mean, how did you feel after
holy cow. Well, I said, what? I'm just curious because he met with every manager in town as well.
Wow.
What made your decision? He said, you are the only ones who came and saw my show.
You took the time.
Yeah. And I didn't know it, but that is his love language. Like, to him, the live show is the most important part of this. And he'd been building this for 10 years on his own before he even came to Nashville. So he knew how to talk to his audience. He knew how to put on a show. He really wanted to protect that relationship. And, you know, after the show, we'd made a bunch of notes and kind of walked through it. And later on, he's like, just so you know, I don't really care what you think about my show. He's like, I've done this long enough. I've got it dialed in.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. I'm like, okay, noted. But, you know, he was still really early in his career, like you said, on one bus. They were all together. But for a guy that was still in the middle of their first radio single, to have enough business to be able to sustain a bus and a band and a crew was pretty wild.
Yeah.
And I will say, then and ever since then, I have learned a lot from him.
Okay.
He likes to say, you all in your Nashville bubble and your nonsense, you're not listening to the outside world. You're not listening to what people want to hear, what people think. And he was right. So this first couple of years, I spent a lot of time going to shows in rural Alabama and Mississippi and places that I didn't normally go to. You know, we go to shows in Chicago and New York and the places that are fun to travel to. To my fault, I had not gone to many shows outside of those markets before. And so we did, and it really opened my eyes to, like, he's right. We are not listening to these people. We're telling them what we want them to like and what we want them to buy, but things have changed.
Yeah.
And you got to pay attention. And I will say, he is the laser precision sharp on his brand, what he wants it to say, how he wants to say it, what the music's going to do, what the show's going to do. Like, he thinks through every single detail of his career. So we're not having to guide him in that respect whatsoever. All we have to do is, like, Well, you have to sort of get through the industry hurdle and what doors that opens up. And, he has fully trusted us to do that. So what was a little band and a couple of us on the management team now is, 6 or 7 buses full of people and 6 trucks full of production and a really large extended management agency, business management, legal, publishing. Like the team is massive at this point.
That's amazing.
And it's exactly what you hope for.
Yeah. Well, man, you've just got what a home run with him. And I know we got ACM Awards coming up, man, and some big nights. I know y'all are doing some stuff with the ACM Lifting Lives.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. But, man, congrats on your journey. Like,
Thank you.
It's a very inspiring story. And just you've taken the bull by the horns and really made an impressive career out of it.
Is that why I cry all the time? No, it's, again, this is everything you dream of and more.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can relax and just let it happen.
No, that's exactly right.
You've almost got to lean in more. Not almost. You do have to lean in more and just, with every level of success comes a new range of hurdles to jump over. And now he's in the television space, and we're starting to get film scripts, and it's really kind of chasing that Tim McGraw kind of path.
Sure.
And hopefully beyond. So that's what we have our sights set on.
Man, I love it. Well, congrats on everything. And thank you again for being here today, man. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's been great over the years to lean on you for advice on things. And it's been fun to watch you as well, because I always tell people you can stay on the road too long.
Yeah.
And you can get stuck in that. But you've built such a huge business. I mean, what you've done for the city of Nashville, both for the 4th of July and New Year's Eve events and hundreds of others. I have no idea how you do it, but it's impressive to watch.
I'm a workaholic too, but I appreciate that. I love what I do, and I'm going to keep on doing it.
Let's hope. I hope so.
Yeah. Thank you again, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you again to Daddy's Dogs for having us today, and we'll be back soon with our next episode.